This story shall the good man teach his son, and Crispin Crispian shall ne'er go by, from this day to the ending of the world. But we in it shall be remembered, we few, we happy few, we band of brothers, for he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. Henry V, Shakespeare. Hello and welcome everyone. Today we're going to do two different compositions, and I'd like to celebrate law enforcement and our troops in the armed forces. I'm using birch canvases. I want to attempt two different types of pours, and I chose the birch because it symbolizes new beginnings, resilience, purity, protection, growth, connection that we have to our environment and nature, fertility, and the idea of the many aspects that can be found in nature, a transition, moving, adapting, hope, a promise of better days, that strength despite all of the adversities that exist or appear. And it is, the birch is actually known to be a slender sort of on the weaker side in terms of trees, but it is extremely resilient and stronger than one would think. And so this is one of the reasons I chose to use the birch as my canvas. I primed the canvas with a clear gesso and I allowed that to dry. For this first piece, I'm going to use black that I have mixed with Liquitex and water to that consistency. Watch it flow off the stick. They're both the same. Used a satin enamel. Did I say that already? I say it again. It's rather misty out there. I'm not hating it, but it does take away that beautiful sunshine when I'm painting. All right, the color palette that I'm using, satin enamel, as I said, that I mixed with Liquitex and water for my first composition. I've also used a Liquitex titanium white that has been mixed with water. It's a 1 to 3 or 4 ratio, and again, just stir it to that desired consistency. Mine is a little bit on the thicker side, but I think it will be okay with that next pour. We'll see. It's been sitting out for a little bit, so I may have to actually thin it up just a little bit. We'll see how that goes. I'm using a teal, a metallic, a teal by Abier, and again mixed with water, and water only in that one. This is actually a ready pour. It's called Clear Sky, and it has just a little bit of glitter to it, and I thought, why not, to honor those many who serve us, and valiantly so. I'm doing a spin and pour in a very light baby blue that I'm adding to both. I'll leave this out. And then I'm using a Metallica teal color, which is the same as the other one. The other one is not as metallic as this one. This one's by DecoArt, and I really love the consistency and the flow and the shine that the DecoArt brings out. Another by DecoArt that I will be using is called the Sapphire, just a plain sapphire, as opposed to this sapphire blue from Deal, which I'm using. It's made with a Piker PB15, which brings out a real great luster to the piece. I'm using a pearl Veridian that I have actually mixed up with a little bit of the teal and a tiny hint of black to kind of create a subdued sort of Veridian, and we'll see if that works out. Hopefully it does. And then I'm trying this. I haven't done it before. I haven't tried it before in any of my paints. It is by US Art Supply, and it's an acrylic paint. And this one is a blue, gold iridescent color, and I'm hoping that that brings an additional layer to the works as well. And then by Got a Deal again, I'm using a silver, which again has been mixed with Liquitex and water. and the Liquitex is by Pouring Masters that I use. I usually use about 1 ounce for every 1 part of paint that I use, and then I adjust the water to that. All right, so let's get to painting. The first one that I want to do is shadow, and I thought that I would just tell you a little bit about an author whose works I have read. The first was Ghost, and the second was Made in America, and they were written by Michael Mara. And I absolutely loved the cover of the first one, which was a specter, ghost, phantom sort of figure standing amidst the blue, some muted white background, and it's eerie and beautiful at the same time. So it has a shadowy effect. The book is just, it's phenomenal. It is based on his true life experience. So it is a memoir. Truth and Fiction Collide. Ghost. Truth and Fiction Collide. A memoir by Michael Mara. If you get a chance, do pick it up. All right, so what I want to do is, in the shadow, I'm going to lay down a black, and that will be the shadow effect with the colors that will come later. So what I want to do is just kind of create my shadow line. How's everyone doing today? I hope you're well. I don't know if you've gotten snow where you are, but it's not really bad out. Actually, I think I want to create another. I should have probably divided it up a little bit. In Michael Mara's Ghost, says, "You don't know me. Am I a cop, a fed, a criminal, a made man?" It's kind of a cross between Godfather and Goodfellas. But it also reminds me of a TV show, Wise Guys. I don't know if anyone is familiar with that. It was a while ago. Let me think this through, because I want to get it just right for you. I'm going to go in with the black here. Again, this is my shadow effect. Just pouring the black out onto this canvas. And in Ghost, we follow, he takes us into his reality and the things that we don't often see that officers have to undertake and go through. He was a special ops officer, and the training that was involved in that is really extensive and brutal. He is of Sicilian background. He's a son of immigrants, and he talks about that as well. There are some lighter moments in that read. Story of Ghost, that blurred line that exists, and we actually get a closer chance. I'm just stirring this up a little bit. It might be a little too thick. At the space that lies between truth and fiction. It's all encompassing and powerful expose of sorts. You know, it's funny, Michael talks about the lessons, his life lessons, or things that influenced him from his childhood. And he speaks about, you lose, you die. Can you imagine? I want to actually bring the shadow here so it goes on both sides. We're introduced to Luca in his book, which his other moniker. And here he is juggling different situations, again, between life and death. It's a perfect blend. Takes you through the New York City streets. There's some love in there, a love story. He talks about his love of music and nature, appreciation of nature and the solitude that it provides as well. I'm just in awe of Michael's feats, but all law enforcement officers and our armed force troops who put their lives on the line, literally, each and every day, to serve and protect us. And I just have no words to express my gratitude. In Ghost, that memoir, the truth, fiction collide, he talks about those familial ties and the appreciation that he has, once again, for the arts. He's highly intelligent, and that comes through in his work. There's some light humor, as I've said. The book is actually one of my favorites. His story is quite engaging and powerful. My suggested read. When I think about Made in America as well, and death is visited in that one, where he talks about his family and the disappearance, his Uncle Dominic and Sandy, along with some others. And it's like, where did they go? Are they ever coming back? Disappearance, just, you get to visit the underside or the organized crime aspect of Michael's life. Yes, he did have some who were involved in organized crime. And it's amazing how he broke free and the decisions he made in his own life. All right, I want to go in and just pour out some colors to create a shadowy effect. I think I'm going to go in with that light blue, and I'm going to just drizzle it on. Just a few different colors. Creating a shadowy effect, ghost-like almost, like the cover of Michael's beautiful book, Ghost, Where Truth and Fiction Collide, that memoir. I'm going to go in with some silver. I'm trying to bring in the colors that represent our men in blue, or our officers, law enforcement in blue. Michael worked, well, he wore many different hats, and so those lines sometimes got blurred. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? And he had to play the game, as it were. All right, I'm getting some of this silver where I don't want it to go, but then again, it's okay. Let me go if I can hit that again. Then I'm going with the darker sapphire blue. Just give it a quick swoosh, swoosh. Just do explore Michael Mara's early experiences, and they follow through, though you don't, they are read-alongs, standalones. You don't have to read both, but I strongly recommend both to get a full perspective. What makes one such brave and heroic individual in our law enforcement. My husband is working on his computer. I fear it's aggravating him this morning. Once again, the challenges of technology. Michael's journey really wasn't involving much technology, I think, back then, in those early days. But I want you to discover that for yourself. When I think about Made in America, that other novel by Michael Mara, I think, what might I have done had I been faced with the death of a loved one under very nefarious and questionable circumstances, which it's kind of like a hidden or a secret truth, but it really isn't, because everyone seems to know, and you wonder what's going on, but you actually do know what's going on. shadows in nature are not limited, and neither are we. Just adding a little of that silver with some of those colors. I've never done this before, and I had seen someone do it, and I said, that looked intriguing. Let me see if I can create my own in honor of our law enforcement and our troops, armed forces. I want to go in with this brilliant blue metallic. Again, layers. Has some bubbles. I'm hoping it works out. Just kind of drizzle it along. I have many family members in law enforcement as well. And coincidentally, I was born actually in Sicily. Michael is the descendant of Sicilian Italian immigrants. I was born there, came here when I was 7. But as I was saying, I do have quite a few family members who serve in law enforcement and in the armed forces as well. My son had gone into the Army. I almost fell over when he told me. But he served honorably, and he's doing really well. I'm very, very proud of him as well. And so I give a shout out to my family members who serve us. Both my sons-in-law, excuse me, it's that morning. Shout out to Pat and Joe, my cousin, my husband's cousin, but I like to think of his family as mine, so they're mine. It's a thing in Italian families. Once you marry into an Italian family, you are family, and that's it. Sal, shout out to my cousin Sal, my cousin Joe. It's funny, in our household, and I think Michael Mara, the author of Ghost, the memoir, and Made in America, will probably attest to it. You say Sal, Joe, Anthony, which reminds me, shout out to my cousin Antonino in Sicily, who served Sicily with honor. I praise him and commend him for that. And so when you call out those names, you'll have 10 people turn around. You know, Vinny, and it's like everybody turns their head. You know, it's just the Italian household. Love family. That's the thing about reading Mara's book. You get that sense of family ties and bonds and the importance of family. It's a real engaging read. I want to go in and add a little bit more bling so that it does pop a little bit from the shadow effect of the blue, of the black, the satin black. Let's see if this works out. My small token, I guess, as it were, of my honor, or the honor of knowing such heroic individuals. And especially thank you, Michael Mara, for your phenomenal storytelling and taking us into that seedier side, I suppose, that many do not know about and don't understand. You come away with that sense that leaves you just in amazement. think I want to go in with this and just kind of, must be some more, laying it down. I wanted it to be more, I didn't want it to be on the lighter side because, as I said, Michael Mara's book Ghost, Truth and Fiction Collide Memoir, the cover just draws your attention to that shadowy figure surrounded by just a hint of white. And so I don't want it to overtake everything, but I really love that cover. Made in America is, has some reds and whites, but since this had been my first read, and I believe he's working on another one, though I'm not sure. I hope he is and does continue to do that because he does it well. It's black and reds and whites, but I wanted to go with this one. I want to introduce, I think I might have put a little bit of this color that I mixed together, blended together. It is that, it's come out sort of a green, but it does have some undertones of blue. So I want to introduce that here. And shadows are not equal here, and I don't want them to be. And here we go, just a little bit. I'm going to hit it up with some of that blue that's already poured in a bottle, just a little bit, just to lighten it once again. Bring those shadows through, pop some bubbles, and then we'll see what happens. All right. I wasn't trying to go for cells here, but if they pop up in the blues and metallics, and sometimes they will, that's okay. It will add to that an additional layer to the composition or depth, and I'm okay with that. So let's give this a tilt and see what happens, shall we? Again, let's see if those shadows continue. I don't want it to spread too much, but I do want it to have an eerie effect to it. Just kind of go to the off the sides. Bring it back, bring it toward you so you can see what's going on. Very ethereal, shadowy effect. I want you to come away with a feeling, an emotion, almost like in poetry. And I believe it was in, might have been Poe's work or Emily Dickinson who said poetry should touch your senses or your feelings first, and then you go in and you think about it later. And that's what I'd like you to come away with my piece, honoring those who serve and protect and serve. And I do want to just touch up the edges, or the sides, excuse me, just a little bit, because I fear that with the wood, sometimes I find it, well, in one of my previous works that I had done off camera, just to test out how the birch wood affects and how the paint actually interacts with that birch wood. And it dried in areas that I had not addressed as I should have. And so that wood shone through. Had I just opted to leave the sides in their natural finish, that might have worked out really well, but it didn't. So I want to make sure that I'm addressing that right now. I don't think I want to do anything else with it in terms of stretching. Let me just take my gloves off and play peekaboo with them, or hide and seek, and just torch this a little bit. Let's see if those bubbles can come up. I will take you in for a close-up. Try to angle my camera so that you could get a closer view or an aerial view of what I'm doing in the process. And I'm hoping it works out. I did test it before, but I never know. And I like to just post the videos as I tape, so it's almost in real time. When I get proficient and more comfortable with this, I will more than likely go live. But for now, I just want to do this. All right, I want to move this, and I want to get to my other honorary piece that I came up with. Let me just put this there, make sure it's settled. Touch up one spot. Sorry, did I put my my hindsight toward you? I apologize. All right, didn't mean to do that. Back in my day, yeah, they called it mooning. I didn't do that, at least not intentionally. I hope, and no one is offended. All right, I want to do this one pour, and I'm not sure if I will spin it out, but I do want to put it on the turntable in case I do decide to do that. I tape the edges or along the along the sides, because I'm trying to contain the paint in here, just to see if we get a different sort of effect to that. Once again, I did prime it with the clear gesso or the matte gesso, and so I'm hoping it works out. So let's get to pouring. I'm going to use just a soft white that I mixed with water. No Liquitex in this one. So let's see what happens. Just gonna layer out. Try not to overdo. Probably tilt it just a little bit. Last time I did this, I overused the paint, and it was like, oh my goodness, that's a lot of paint on that canvas. Let me just swish it a little bit, but I do want to get enough paint on there so that when I remove the tape, the paint will flow off to the sides. And cover the that birch, that beautiful birch that is underestimated for its strength and resilience, its growth, its ability to adapt, transition, strength, like those who serve in our armed forces and those who serve us each and every day, each putting their lives in harm's way. Now, sometimes I don't think they receive the accolades, recognition that they deserve. There are so many who serve and serve us well, making the right decisions. I actually had a couple of my family members hurt while on duty, and so I know all too well what the pitfalls are of serving a community. And I'm ever so grateful that those officers in blue are here for us.